Hello, 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 and welcome. My name is Lee Cara. This is Unleash Your Light. Today, we are going to talk about how to keep your sanity while you are awakening. Now, what is Unleash Your Light? Unleash Your Light is simple things you can do in your everyday life to embrace the divine energy within you. Basically, how to wake up in a real world without all the fluffy, hoo-ha bullshit that is out there in the spiritual community. It brings it to a level that the rest of us can understand. I'm a simple girl. I bring a simple message from the universe. So, here we go. How do you maintain your sanity while you are awakening? Well, the first thing we have to address is, what the heck is the awakening? What does that mean? In a nutshell, and you can basically Google this and there's a million memes about this. In a nutshell, it just means you have recognized there is more to this world than what we see with our eyes and hear with our ears. You have recognized that there is a greater purpose to us being here. And you are embracing the concept, or trying to embrace the concept, that we are all connected, that we are all pieces of the same whole. You've acknowledged our connection and our embodiment of a divine energy, a higher power. Call it God, some call it Gaia, some call it the light. I do. Some call it divine. I call it that too. You can call it Fred. It does not make a difference. As long as you are seeking, it does not matter what you call it. And it does not matter what path you take to embrace that awakening. Some people have found their awakening through religion, Christianity, or being a Muslim, or Buddhism, or Hinduism, or whatever path it is that you follow. Some people have found their awakening through the spiritual paths, whether it is through becoming a shaman, or Native American practices, or sacred geometry, or crystals, or oils, or Wiccans, or whatever it is that you embrace. Some people have stumbled on their awakening through conspiracy theories, through this counterculture that is now becoming more mainstream about don't believe anything the media tells you, only believe the stuff that's over here hidden, and gain that sense of superiority from that. And some people just get that directly from the universe. The universe just starts talking to them. So I'm going to tell you my story of awakening very briefly, just so that you can kind of get an idea. I lived a life where I hated myself. I was miserable every day. I was mean to myself. I was a cutter until I was in my 40s. And one day in 2012, I did not know anything about spirituality. I knew a little bit about religion. I was the girl who argued with the Jehovah's Witnesses when they came to the door. I found that very amusing. I was at my lowest. I was in a space in my marriage where I was miserable, and after close to 20 years of it, I didn't know what to do. I asked for help. I asked the universe for help. And I got a lightning bolt in my body. And I felt loved in a way that I had never felt before. Not from a parent, not from any of my children, not from any of my husbands. I felt unconditional love for the very first time. And then I started hearing voices. Now, I had already been hearing voices, y'all, because we all have that inner asshole. We all have that inner narrative. And believe me, it was screaming at me, telling me I was such a loser for many, many years. And if you have not watched my video on that, you can scroll backwards or forwards and find that video on that voice, how to feel more confident, how to get rid of that voice. I started hearing a new voice that was kind, that was loving. And they started dictating to me, like dictating, and I started writing. And I would be like, why is anyone going to read what a bartender is writing. Why should I be writing this? I don't even understand what you're telling me to write. And they would tell me, shut up and write, shut up and write, shut up and write. Now that was in 2012, and evidently there was a giant wave of energy that came through and woke up many, many people. In that moment, they said to me, you are Lee Cara. You are going to create, unleash your light. It is these simple steps. You are not alone. Be nice to yourself and others. Forgive yourself and others. Set your mind. Release your past. Have faith. Simple things that change your life. And I finished writing this little book after a couple of days, and then I said, now what? Now what do I do? And they said, now do the steps. And share it with the world. So y'all can look at my YouTube channel. I've been making videos since like 2013. And back then, you can literally see the sadness, the pain, the trauma, the self-hatred in my eyes, mixed with this new energy of trying to learn to love myself, trying to learn to be different, to be more myself. It was quite a big jump. It was quite a big change in my life. So here we are, 8 years later almost. My book is actually in print now. It is a very cute, short little book here. I've been doing a live show for 3 years on Facebook. And I tell you all of that to tell you this. Awakening is hard. It's hard, y'all. It's tough. You have to look at the darkest places in you. You have to admit the worst things you've ever done to yourself. You have to face up to every crappy thing you ever did and that was ever done to you. Awakening is hard. It is a journey of self-awareness, self-discovery, and self-love. It is about learning to accept the faults in you, and that allows you to accept those same faults in others' faults. It is all about embracing unconditional love for yourself and for everyone else. So how do you stay sane? Let's get to the practical stuff. Quit yapping. I do an hour-long show, so believe me, I can talk. Let's try to get into this. How do you stay sane while you're awakening? First of all, know that you are not alone. You are not alone. There are thousands, maybe millions of people that are waking up just like you. And they're all at different stages in their journey. Some of them are at the beginning. Some of them are right in the middle. Some of them think they're at the end and, oh, I'm so enlightened. Guess what? There is no end until you die. So as enlightened as a person thinks they are, they still have a lot more to learn. In fact, one of the things that the universe tells me over and over again is that if you think your learning is over, you think you are on the right path, that this is the only right answer to spirituality, to your own growth, guess what? You've blocked yourself. You've already blocked yourself from moving forward. For example, in religion, as a Christian, if you believe that only your way is right and no other ways are the way to enlightenment to God, if you think you can only get to God through the soaked blood of Jesus, you've blocked your own progress. You've blocked your own movement forward. If you think that, oh, only love and light is the way, and I can't ever think a bad thing, and I have to be la la zen, om all the time, you've blocked your own progress. It is when we close our minds that we stop our own progress. So keep remembering that. Where we find resistance is where we need to head. Where we find resistance in ourselves is where we need to head. That's another way to stay sane in the awakening. Where you find resistance is where you need to look. It's the hardest part to look at those places that don't want to change. And here I am 8 years later, and I'm still working on this. I'm right there with you. I share my personal journeys with you guys live on my show. So know that you're not alone. Know that what you're going through is completely normal for someone in the awakening. If you start hearing voices, knowing things, if you start experiencing the clairs, clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, clear knowing, clear seeing, clear hearing, clear smelling. There are people that smell things. If you start seeing ghosts, if you start having experiences that you don't understand, don't deny them. Don't label yourself crazy. Don't censor what you're seeing and hearing. Do your research. Look into it. Try to figure it out. Don't allow fear to overtake you, because there's a lot of weird stuff in this awakening. But always use discernment, because a lot of the stuff that's in the awakening does seem crazy, does seem out there. Here's another thing. Don't let anyone tell you you're doing it wrong. Because guess what? It's your personal journey. And you get to decide how you do it. You get to decide what feels right for you. You get to decide how you connect to the light, God, divine. Don't let anyone tell you you're doing it wrong. If it comes from love, if it comes from that desire to embrace yourself, then it's right. And if it's not right for you, then move on. Pick something different. Your GPS is always set to the same destination: unconditional love, understanding of self, love of self, self-awareness. You can make as many right, left turns as you want. You can turn back and go forward as many times as you want. Because guess what? You're driving the bus. It's your journey. It's your choice. So that's another way to keep your sanity. If you need to stay in the same spot for a while and take a pause, do it. Do it. Here's another thing to help you stay sane. The universe is always talking to you. Maybe that makes you feel like, oh, that doesn't feel very sane. The universe is always talking to you, so it's always giving you messages. And these messages are for your good. Sometimes they come through other people. Sometimes they come through things we find. Sometimes they come through songs on the radio, things on TV. Start to believe that things that look like a coincidence actually could be a sign from the universe. Start to believe that the universe is always trying to guide you towards your highest good, even if it has to lead you through some very dark spots to get there, even if you have to drive to the swamp to get to the mountaintop. And the last piece of advice I'll give you to hold on to your sanity in the awakening is to find a tribe of like-minded people. To believe that there are other people going through this, and that they will find you and you will find them. We all have a tribe. We all have people that think like us out there. And that support that you get from them is invaluable, whether it's online or whether it's people in person. You will get through this. But the awakening is not something that happens and then ends. The awakening refers to the beginning moment, when we all come online, and then the journey that we take. You got this. You are beloved. You matter. You are loved.